Hey everyone, Brian Pintar here with your weekly market update. So, what I'm going to talk about right now are my predictions for the future. So, there's a whole lot that went on with regards to tariffs and stuff. Please take the time to read everything below. Again, these are my opinions. And I explain how interest rates work, how inflation works, and how jobs work. So, the reality is inflation. So, cost of rising goods makes things more expensive, and then employment when inflation goes up, the Fed increases interest rates. Sounds like that shouldn't happen, but their goal is to increase the cost of goods to the point that people start spending less, and then creates when people spend less, uh, businesses have to lay off employees, which increases unemployment. Unemployment leads less money in the economy. Less money in the economy means less people spending money. Less people spending money means the cost of goods go down because less things are being bought. Basic supply and demand. However, there's two things that literally changed this. Number one is 2008 during the housing crash when the government did quantitative easing and they started purchasing mortgage bonds and mortgage-backed securities and bonds to drive down interest rates, which worked. But then we have COVID when the Fed printed $2.6 trillion, trillion with a T, and gave it out to everyone. So everybody had money. So now what happened in 2001, we have all this 2.6 trillion, which created massive inflation. And then in 2001, when inflation was peaking, the government decided to, one, start to increase interest rates. Two, they started selling all their mortgage-backed securities and bonds that they had been buying through quantitative easing, which made interest rates go up the fastest that we've ever seen it over the shortest period of time. So now we have massive interest rates, and then we have literally the highest and fastest we've ever seen. However, unemployment didn't go down like it should. Inflation didn't go down like it should because there's $2.6 trillion. So the market didn't react like it normally would. So then what happens is we come to today. The 2.6 trillion will eventually be diluted. It will go to the wealthiest Americans because honestly, that's the way capitalism works. I'm not saying I am not the person that complains about the 1% or anything like that. I think we all have opportunities, but that's a totally different topic. But anyway, so the 2.6 trillion will eventually be diluted, meaning it will go to the top 1% who will invest the money and, probably put a lot of the money into foreign investments, which means that 2.6 trillion is eventually gone from the economy. So now we have unemployment pretty low. We still have really high interest rates, and inflation is going to be the Fed's never going to reach the market 2%. That's what they want. It's just not going to happen. So let's say we have inflation at 3%, right? 3-4%. Doesn't matter. The Fed's going to have to eventually do quantitative easing again because the reason why is they're going to have to drive down interest rates because when that 2.6 trillion goes away and the people were used to spending, they ended up using all their savings and all their credit cards to keep spending, keeping the lifestyle that they wanted from this 2.6 trillion that was created. So now in America, we have the highest credit card debt of all time at extremely high interest rates. We have the lowest savings rate of all time. So now we don't have money to pay back that debt. So what the Fed's going to have to do is lower the cost of that debt by lowering interest rates, which can only be done through quantitative easing. And then what that's probably going to keep employment stable, right? Because people aren't going to stop spending money. They're not going to be spending money on goods. They're going to be spending money on paying down their debt, right? And so because they're not buying goods, inflation should stabilize as well. So once we get this 2.6 trillion out of the economy, we get consumers to pay off a lot of their debt, which is massive. It's the highest of all time. Then we'll start to see a stable economy again. So anyways, that's my summary. Call me if you have any questions. Hope you have a great weekend.